Good Saturday morning, everybody, and welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens. I'm sitting in a conference room at United Airlines at O'Hare International Airport. Yes, I do get around. This is a fun day that we're going to be talking about, and some interesting things we're going to talk about. I have two great guests, as you can see, that are going to tell us about things that have to do with girls, ladies, and women in aviation. And so I'll start out by introducing them. And by the way, sorry that we're running a little bit late. We're in Chicago, so we can blame it on traffic and all kinds of good stuff. Anyhow, without further ado, let me go ahead and get things started so we can move along with this program. I'd first like to introduce Soudeh Mansourian. Soudeh is with United Airlines uIMPACT. He's the president of uIMPACT here at United Airlines. And that is a program specifically for empowering women and bringing women into a positive light in terms of aviation and specific to United Airlines. Soudeh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on board with us today. We also have, and this is a guest that I've had before, so it's a pleasure to have her back, Tammera Holmes with AeroStar Avion Institute. Tamera has been very involved and very instrumental in a lot of things that have to do with not only girls in aviation, but just promoting getting more people in aviation, diversity and inclusion, etc. And so she's been on a mission, and that mission continues today in conjunction with United Airlines. I've been saying your name wrong too. It's Tamera, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I know it, Tamera. That's my problem, and I swore I wasn't going to do it. I told Sophia I wasn't going to do that, and here I am doing that. Anyhow, Tamera, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's really great. So let's get started and talk a little bit about you guys and your backgrounds first. And I'm going to start with you, Soudeh. We were talking a little earlier before we went live, and you have an interesting path and an interesting background that has brought you to United. So why don't we go back a little bit and talk about where you're from and how you got, the education you did, and then how you got to United and what that all means.
Absolutely. I'm an immigrant, so I was not born and raised here. I came to US in 2006. I'm originally from Iran, and when I moved here in 2006, I pursued my MBA at DePaul University. And after that, when I was looking at opportunities to work, I looked at United multiple times, and I didn't see myself in this industry because I was like, I don't know if I fit well. And eventually I started research more and actually hear more about United, and I got really passionate about what they do and how they look at the workforce outside. And I started believing that I can actually fit in. And I applied, and I was lucky to get a job. But as soon as I got in, because of a lot of the past experience that I have in life and my parents who always were involved in community work, I was looking to find an opportunity to give back to my community, not only internally at United, but also externally. And I found uIMPACT as a really great avenue for that. uIMPACT is an employee-based business resource group at United that is basically focusing on empowering women for positive change. And everything we do is focusing on how we can create more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace by raising awareness and understanding our cultural issues and opportunities. So this mission of uIMPACT and activities that was done by my other peers encouraged me to join uIMPACT, and now I am president of uIMPACT. And in the past 5 years, uIMPACT has been the sponsor of Girls in Aviation Day at United. We have, I would say, we have had up to 1,000 girls probably up to this point, including today, that we were able to bring in and show them the aviation industry and tell them that the sky is the limit, and you can basically do many different things at United. So with that, I think well, I'm very excited for today and the opportunity that we have to partner up with AeroStar to be able to bring more girls and show them the aviation industry and create that sense of connection and love for this industry to the girls that are going to be here today.
Yeah. Wow, what a summary. Speaking of partnering up, why don't we talk about today and talk about what's going to be going on? And let me do that. Let's talk about that first, Tamera, and then we can talk a little bit about your background.
Well, we at AeroStar have been really fortunate to have had United as a premier partner since our days of beginning with After School Matters around 2012. So we're going on a decade of partnership with the world's leading airline and setting an example of what it means to actually have community partners, community engagement, and working together to be able to meet the needs, not just of the industry, but our youth. And that's where AeroStar comes in. We have had a tremendous track record with impacting, exposing, educating, and training young people in aviation and aerospace career pathways, and not just pilots and mechanics. We're talking about architects, engineers, designers, journalists, business owners, airport managers, air traffic controllers, drone pilots. There are so many jobs out there for young people to pursue in aviation. And unfortunately, young girls and young persons of color do not get an opportunity to be exposed to that early on. So my background is that I am one of those young girls and young person of color. Yeah, I'm still young. And growing up, I did not have a lot of opportunities. I'm from a very poor neighborhood, from a family of 7, poor family, worked really hard to get good grades. And even then I found myself in a lot of bad situations and a lot of trouble. And it wasn't until I got a Young Eagles flight with the Chicago chapter, the Tuskegee Airmen, took me up on an airplane ride and asked me if I wanted to fly the plane. And I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to let me fly this airplane. But he did. And we turned the plane around and we were flying over Lake Michigan on the most beautiful day. And I knew then that aviation had not only changed my life, but I truly believe that it saved my life. I went on to get a degree in aviation management from Southern Illinois University. I was one of only 2 African-American females of more than 200 students in 4 years. And I went on to corporate, and that story seemed to be much of the same. I was one of very few African-American females who had an aviation background, a degree in aviation, experience as a pilot, and one of the only African-American females working for the firm globally that I worked for 7 years. And that's when I decided to walk away from corporate America and start a little company called AeroStar. And here we are, 10,000 kids later, impacted through aviation and aerospace education, training, and exposure. And in partnering with United, Boeing, and several of our other extraordinary compadres that have come alongside us, I know, that the future of aviation is not only bright, but it's diverse, it's going to be equitable, it's going to be inclusive.
Very good. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the girls that are coming today? How were they selected? What are their interests in terms of wanting to even come on a tour like they're going to experience today? How did that come about?
Well, to Soudeh's point, they have been, United has been very active with Girls in Aviation Day. I believe that we're celebrating over 20 years of Girls in Aviation. And AeroStar has been a part of Girls in Aviation Day with the International Women in Aviation organization since the beginning. I've been a member of Women in Aviation for almost 20 years. So as a member, I've been exposed to and have been around a lot of other females in the aviation industry. And the Girls in Aviation Day is a very unique experience that in an arena where less than 5% of the workforce is female, we literally have singled out one day of the year to celebrate the women who keep planes running, to keep planes in the air.
Yeah, it originated with Women in Aviation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people know.
It's their worldwide program.
That the Girls in Aviation Day is a facet of the Women in Aviation International Organization, of which I am a dues paying member. So the girls that are coming today are AeroStars. That's how our students are affectionately known as. And we don't select students, they select us. And that's one of the things that I love about AeroStar.
That's great to point out.
We are there, we make ourselves available, we create opportunities for young people to get involved. And I can guarantee you there are some girls who will be here because their mother sent them. And that's just a fact. The reason why I have a career in aviation today is because my mother sent me on a Saturday morning to take an airplane ride that changed my life. So kudos to all the parents that are making your girls come.
So they select. So you say the kids select you, but the parents select you too.
Yeah, you know how you have to sometimes make people think that they have, that they're actually making autonomous decisions. That's kind of what happens. So there are some girls that will be here today who are on a pathway to pursue a career in aviation. Some have already had a couple of flight hours. Some have been in AeroStar's programs, learning about the parts of the plane, learning about aviation careers, learning about lift, weight, thrust, and drag, and the science behind flight. They get real aviation tutelage and training within our organization. And to have opportunities like today not only allows them to see in real live terms and practical applications of what they're learning in AeroStar's program. And I think that's so important for not only them to experience aviation in a real way, but do it amongst people that look like them, that can identify them and come from where they come from.
So I understand they're going to see several things today. They're going to have a chance to go to the control tower. They're going to see flight operations. They're going to see the support side of it, and they're going to, in terms of things like the baggage system and stuff like that, and flight attendants, how that works behind the scenes. So they're going to see a nice variety of things with the program today. I wanted to talk a little bit more about United's involvement and how United has parlayed everything that it's been doing as an organization lately to really push and have a positive impact from young girls all the way up to the women that currently work for United. Can you tell us a little bit more about that today?
Absolutely. So United is committed to being a leader in advancing women in the aviation industry. And I think examples of Years in Aviation Day and other commitment that we have made recently, for example, the goal that we have set for by 2030, we want to have 10,000 pilots, and we are hiring 10,000 new pilots, and at least half of them we want it to be women or people of color. Commitments and activities that United is doing to embrace and support diversity, inclusion, and equality has been going on for a long time. And we are today, actually, we are all here at O'Hare and celebrating this, but we have also other events happening in throughout our network. So we have over 100 girls coming to our network, and up to today, I would say over 1,000 girls has come to United and have benefited from just showing them a glimpse of opportunity that exists for them. And actually, as a success story that I can mention, just because of the Girls in Aviation Day, in our we have another program for that is called Summer Associate Program that we partner up with mayors of different cities. This year we had a girl that actually was in our program a couple of years ago, and she was inspired by Girls in Aviation Day, and she wanted to be a flight attendant. And we brought her as an intern, and not only showed her the in-flight opportunity, but also all other opportunities across United. And these are the example of, and I think, Tamera, you mentioned girls that they already know, but there are many girls out there that they actually don't know this. And when they come to these opportunities, they realize what they want to do. And also, if you think of the impact that social media has today, all of the girls that are going to come here today, they're going to have their phone in their hands. They're going to take pictures. They're going to post in Instagram. They're going to not encourage only the 20 or how many came today in person, but also send
Their
that
peers.
message out there and say, look, I was there today. You can also be there, and not only be there to just enjoy this tour, but also work there as your, as a opportunity for the future. So I think this is what we're creating. We're not, again, impacting 20, we're impacting 2,000 people, right? 2,000 students across the globe. And I think that's where the beauty of these type of opportunity and partnership comes to place. And also, you being live and, broadcasting that, these are all opportunities. But
Yeah, we
United
want to
has
let them
been-
know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we just want to let everyone know that it's like the sky's the limit. The door is wide open at United for girls who want to pursue a career in aviation.
Yeah, so that brings me, in terms of talking about opportunities, I want to go to another level for a minute. One of the things that United Airlines also has is a program called Aviate. And that really is for, that's for young people that have already gotten to a certain point,
right?
In terms of their education and even their flight training. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And I know it has several elements to it.
Absolutely. So United is so one of the innovative ways that we are addressing diversity and inclusion in the flight deck basically is through our new pilot training program called Aviate Academy. And Aviate Academy aims to train 5,000 new pilots by 2030. And with that goal,
how many?
5,000.
Wow.
So overall, we want to have 10,000, but through the academy, our goal is about 5,000. And again, remember that overall from the 10,000, our goal is half of them be women and people of color. And that is actually happening with partnership with even taking that to the next step by removing financial barrier that exists out there for many of the young girls that are out there and people of color who wants to join these programs. And we partner up with Chase and United, providing scholarship to these students. So, and these are basically examples of how we want to be determined as the global leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're going to continue working on that. We actually had the only female technician mechanics group that actually went to competition internationally. We are going to be focused a lot in female mechanics and making sure that we create similar opportunities that now we have with Aviate for pilots. We would also have that for our for other interests.
Other areas of
exactly.
That's great to hear. The more the merrier in terms of that, because most of the time people hear about being a pilot, becoming a pilot, or maybe becoming a mechanic. Obviously, some of the other obvious ones like being a flight attendant, but they don't hear about all of the different opportunities that are available. I'm going to go back to you, Tamera, in reference to your programs. So you've got a pretty comprehensive program at AeroStar that covers elementary, middle, high school, college, and even after that. So can you want to expand on that a little bit and tell us how that came about and what you're trying to do with it?
Well, when I first designed AeroStar and founded the company, it literally was to get aviation programs taught in high school as a career pathway, a vocational trade within the transportation bracket. So the same as automotive. If you remember back in the 50s and 60s and even the 70s, there were a lot of high schools that had aviation programs that were actually teaching aircraft maintenance, that they had airplanes in a building. Right in Chicago, CBCS was one of them. Phillips Academy was one of them. And these programs disappeared in the 80s and 90s when everything began to focus on college matriculation. College was the American dream. Math and science grades were plummeting. And then you had young people who were left in the dark. I mean, a huge swath of young people attending school today do not perform well on tests, do not perform well under pressure. And minority males have the hardest time in a traditional classroom, which, and I believe is one of the reasons why most of them are being diagnosed with ADHD when they really just need an outlet for the H.
Right.
Just give them something to do.
Point to focus on.
Give them a point to focus on. Give them a project. Give them something to do. If I realized that growing up, I would have been diagnosed with ADHD had I not had teachers to guide me and direct me into extracurricular activities where I could be use my brain. I'm a left and right brain individual. And so when I realized that I was not just intellectual, but I was also technical, I started finding and identifying this in children as young as 2, 3, and 4 years old, where they actually can write poetry, write a song, do take a radio apart. And it's genius. It literally is genius. Right. And you bottle that and box that into a traditional classroom. And I said, no, we have to bring aviation back. What I found that aviation did for my brain and for my life, both economically, both intellectually, as far as a skill building and trade, motor skills. I said, this has to be in the schools. It's a way, and this was before STEM was even a word. STEM didn't exist. Science, technology, engineering, and math was not a national platform for education. It was all higher education and college. Well, fast forward to the 2020s, the job market is empty. You have 20 million jobs. And the only reason why they aren't filled is because there aren't people that have the skills to
pipeline is not there. Yeah.
And that's how I developed the concept of talent pipeline development, specifically for aviation and aerospace, where we started in high school. Nobody would buy into the idea that we could teach minority kids from the poorest neighborhoods to become pilots. We started doing it out the gate in 2009, 2010. Then we realized that we had to get kids much earlier into program, or else they would never have the aptitude or the confidence to be able to stick with it, because aviation is something that you actually, if you don't love it right away, then it will grow on you. Yeah. Anybody who's got into the industry. So we got down to the K-4, and through our wonderful sponsorship with the Bob company, they infused a significant amount of cash for us to launch K-8 programming. K-4 is AeroSparks, 5th through 8th grade is aviation career exploration. Our aviation apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, and advanced apprenticeships are for high schoolers. Our Aero Ambassador program is for all of our AeroStars who have aged out that are currently either in the workforce, pursuing post-secondary degrees, or doing gap year, or going directly into flight training and not at the university or the military. We have at least 30 kids in the military right now serving active duty. At least 10 of them are on aviation installations. Okay. And then
are they flight training, or some of them doing other aspects of aviation?
Only 2 of them are flight training. The rest of them are doing hydraulics. They're in helicopter units. They're doing maintenance. Air traffic control.
That's important to point out.
Very important. Again, AeroStar specializes in the young person. We don't specialize in pilots. We don't specialize in mechanics. We specialize in getting young people into aviation with whatever skill set best suits their aptitude, their confidence, and their abilities. And that way they have opportunities to succeed, as opposed to most aviation programs are designed to lure kids in with the dream of becoming a pilot. And then when they realize they don't want to fly, or it's too expensive to fly, and believe it or not, you already know this, if it happens in college, they're already into debt. They already have to change their major after maybe finishing a private pilot's license, not getting to their commercial license, not being able to get the instrument rating, and then they fall off. They just get the degree in aviation management, and then they go out to the world and say, what in the world can I do with a degree in aviation management? My dream is to become a pilot.
Yeah.
We interrupt that entire pattern.
You've been working in some scholarship programs too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we actually give out our own scholarships, but I write probably close to 50 letters of recommendation for scholarships every year. Yeah. One of the biggest scholarship opportunities is Tuskegee Next. Okay. I'm a founding board member of Tuskegee Next, and this is an actual pilot training program specifically for underserved youth across America. $25,000 per for the private pilot's license in 9 weeks over summer. Just this summer, we have 5 pilots get their pilot's license. And over the course since 2016, we have about 16 pilots that have actually going through that program. Yeah. We also apply for a scholarship through Women in Aviation, through the Chicago Area Business Aviation Association.
OBAP has
OBAP, United Airlines actually gives us flight vouchers So a lot of times when young people need to get home from college, or they need to fly to a training camp or fly down to space camp in Houston, United Airlines is the official airline of the AeroStar Avion Institute. So even as Soudeh has explained, with eliminating those financial barriers, we have to be very creative about not just throwing money to organizations anymore, but the work that United and AeroStar has put into creating something unique from kindergarten to career is a partnership that we believe can be emulated across the country and across the industry, because it meets the need of all of the young people in the pipeline, but it also meets the needs of the employers, who at the end have everything to gain from getting more diverse and more qualified talent. And studies have shown that when you reach these people younger, you create brand recognition, and you actually help foster the relationship. When they begin to work for you, they'll never leave.
So one of the things I like to do, when I have people with both of your kind of experience on, is share with our audience a little bit about your perspective and recommendations to them as they are considering a career in aviation. Today, I'm going to go to you first, and you've had an interesting track. You mentioned it earlier, and maybe you can expand on it a little bit. But what's your recommendation to people like you, who you were at one point, young and trying to figure out what to do next, and what you wanted to do career-wise, and specifically in aviation? Now, that's funny. Got to move around the motion center.
Throw something over there. No, you keep talking.
There it is. I knew if I got around that the light would come back on. So that's live TV.
Yeah, I can definitely get to that. I think that's a great point. One thing a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, because you have a certain path in the past, that doesn't define your future. You can always find new ways for your future. Second, I think this industry specifically doesn't necessarily need you to have a college degree. There are so many opportunities in this industry that you can pursue without a college degree. And maybe you never get that college degree, but you will have a really good paying job,
which is the whole point of getting a degree, right?
Well, and not everybody's college material, and that's the bottom line.
Push yourself to that. So exactly, and you can see the work with this industry, right? So that's the other piece of it. So I also want to mention that, this industry is not just what we see as a face of it, which is the pilots are so important, flight attendants are very important, customer service. And all of those jobs are very level, but there's a lot of jobs behind the scene that you can see them in a day-to-day job. Like my job, I'm running our project management office currently at United. I have multiple projects that are under my organization, and I have a finance and management background. But I work in an industry, such as this. Our cybersecurity department has more than 40%, approximately 40% women, which is nearly 4 times of the average industry average. There are so many different jobs. You can be an accountant. You can be we even have doctors, to believe it, and nurses that are working.
That are specific to the airline.
Exactly. So there is so much.
That's a great point to push.
Yeah, I think just open your thinking and think broader and find what is your passion, and then connect to people, right? There's so much opportunity to find ways to talk to people, and all of us are so interested to be reached by others, young people out there, and tell them about this industry. Again, the sky is the limit. There's so much opportunity in this industry, and we encourage to look for it and find ways to get more information. But it doesn't matter if you have a college degree or not. It doesn't matter if you ever thought this will be a path for you or not. It might be. It just takes that initial courage to go after it and find that path.
Sure. To put an exclamation point on what you just said, though, I'm going to take advantage of what you two have been doing and bragging about the success story. So I can tell you, I had a young guest on about a month or two ago, and she is a student. Well, she was a student at Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics on a 2-year program for A&P, becoming an airframe and power plant mechanic. But she wanted to do, you know, a little bit more with that. And so she applied to SpaceX and she got hired. And now who would think A&P with 2 years would get hired at a SpaceX? But hey, SpaceX needs airframe A&P mechanics just as much as anybody else, apparently. So it goes back to the path thing too. You really don't know what the path's going to be. So if you follow your passion and your interest, it'll create a path for you, basically, and you'll be happy, and you'll get paid. So exactly.
And you can see the world. I emphasize on that.
Literally, you can see the world. How about you, Tamera? Your advice and perspective with that?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that Soudeh hit on the head was more than 60% of the jobs in the aviation industry don't require more than a high school diploma. Another 20 to 30% require a specific license or skill in that particular area. In the last 10%, which is where you probably will see a lot of the most money in the executive level, are the degree requirements for management and leadership and decision making. And so if I can push any young person to think about how they want to use their degree and leverage their career, is literally to be a gatekeeper for the next generation. The people that are at the top are the decision makers, and they actually are the ones that control the decisions that are being made in the boardroom. We complain a lot about how things are working and how things are not working, but there are some steps that we have to take in order to be in leadership. And I want to encourage young people to strive to be at the top, to not just be invited to the table, but to be a part of the leadership, and to also, learn how to work with people that they might not necessarily have seen themselves working with. And one of the things that I believe is going to be a challenge in the interim is preparing the current industry for the diversity, equity, and inclusion that's coming. For a long time, the status quo has been accepted. Women have not been accepted. Persons of color have not been accepted. It's not just a feeling of discrimination. It is discrimination. It's not just a feeling of disrespect. It is disrespect. To attribute the way that women and people of color actually walk and move through corporate life, to relegate that down to our feelings is disrespectful. Is not taking responsibility and accountability for the culture that the industry has perpetuated over the last 120 years. And I know that I'm probably preaching outside of the choir right now, but one of the things that I love to do when I have a platform to share my thoughts is make sure that I'm very poignant and direct to the people that need to hear the truth about the future of what's happening in the industry and the backlash, unfortunately, that Aviate and United Airlines received for announcing that they wanted 50% of those 5,000 pilots to be women and people of color was disgusting. And those were not outsiders and people that worked at the gas station or people that worked for the Department of Transportation. Those were aviation employees that go to work with people like myself and Soudeh every day, that share the coffee room with us, that share the break room with us, that we have to fly in the cockpit with and fly on planes with. And so it's very important that not only United, but other organizations that have the courage to make these commitments out loud, to hold their employees accountable when they do not buy into or subscribe to the vision that has come from the top down. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of individuals in the industry, including white males. And if we cannot find advocates in that arena, then it is going to be a lot more harder to climb this hill or to climb this approach than we could have imagined. And I'm gonna get off the soapbox.
No, that's okay. But I think that I always like to say there's always a certain percentage that are going to be the way they're going to be no matter what. We see that.
But we didn't expect that percentage to be as large as it was. And I know Soudeh and United Airlines were caught. I mean, United Airlines was really caught off guard by the backlash and threats that they received from making that announcement.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear on that. I think though the applause goes to United
Absolutely.
and others that are really, I won't say, I can't speak for United and say they're ignoring it, but they're moving forward with some positive steps.
That's right.
That are going to be beneficial to all aspects of minorities, women, people of color, etc.
But let me tell you why this is important to me with young people that I am training to go into the industry, because the training that we do at AeroStar is not just specifically about aviation and aerospace. It's also about cultural sensitivity. It's also about preparing them to be mistreated. It's like giving your children the talk about the police. If they're young Black boys, I have to have the same conversations with my Latino and African-American students about going into the aviation industry. Think about that.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's why it's important.
I get it,
Because
and I
you
think
can't say you want
I think a lot of our,
diversity.
I get it, and I think a lot of our audience. Go ahead.
I think this is not going to be easy. Like, you know, Melissa Ward was one of the first Black women to serve as a captain of US Airlines. Captain Teresa Claiborne, she's one of the first Black female to fly at US Air Force.
That's right.
I'm sure she had a hard time. I'm sure she was not navigating through this, you know, happily, but if there are people like all of us that can hold hands and push this forward, it will change. Change is not easy.
And inspire the next generation.
Exactly. I think it is important to focus on where we need to go and not get distracted with things that will come toward us because it's a change. And some people accept that change easier and some accept it harder.
I think it's important to build confidence in the kids that we're trying to help grow in this industry. So I think today, which we're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to move it in that direction. What's happening today that AeroStar and United are doing with these kids is a movement, a step in that direction, exactly. And a very positive step. And I to your point, and I wasn't trying to cut either one of you off, but to your point, I think the current generation, this group of kids is an example that are here and that are at other United facilities for girls in aviation. The main thing is to open their eyes, show them some confidence, and encourage them that, hey, whatever it is that you're interested in, you can make this happen. Yep. And I think if we move in that direction and continue to do that on a broader basis, we will combat some of the things that you're absolutely concerned about.
I would just give like 2 sentences to add, like, you know, how.
Maybe 3.
4. We're not only bringing them here to see, you know, the girls in aviation and the industry, but also like creating internship opportunity, creating career opportunity. That's how connects all these together, and at the end, it will bring what we all want: a more diverse workforce, a more equitable workforce, and a more inclusive, right? So I think it's just like create that path, and United is committed to that. Like we are doing all of those steps. Awareness, you know, create opportunity and bring them to work at United. So
and we know AeroStar is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's why I said, you know,
absolutely.
Exactly like how they're doing it. And if these partnerships won't happen, we're going to be by ourselves and we can't do it. So that's why it's important.
Absolutely. So the kids are going to be arriving shortly.
Yeah, I think
they're United is providing lunch. And also doing a panel discussion. Can you either one of you talk a little bit about what
I can actually. We have 12 our female pilots. We have 2 female mechanics. We have one of our legal department, VP of our VP legal department, and also one of our managing directors of it's the ground services equipment in our technical operation organization is also here to talk to girls about opportunities that are available for them. And how they can become one of us, hopefully one day.
And answer questions. And
it's mostly focused on a career, how they got here, and answer questions from the girls. Yeah.
Sounds great. Any closing comments, ladies? Because I think you said it all. But.
I'm so excited to see our AeroStars in person. So many of our young people have been taking all of our classes online at the Aeroverse. And the pandemic has been really hard on these in-person opportunities. So it's really a blessing for us to be able to be out here in person, to actually see the kids, for them to be out in real life. We know that those opportunities have been few and far and in between. And so today it's all about getting up close and personal with aviation and hopefully transforming some young people's lives.
So I know it was a bit of a scramble for us to pull off this special edition of All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'd like to thank both of you for taking the time and being available for us to talk about the program and programs. Once again, we have Tammera Holmes, the founder and CEO of AeroStar Avion Institute. And then we have Soudeh Mansourian, who said I pronounced her name absolutely correct, and that's a good one for me. Check mark on that one. Of United Airlines, the uIMPACT project and program that you manage. So, ladies, thank you very much for doing this today.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Let's go have some fun with the kids. I'm gonna hang out and see how the tour goes. I haven't been up the control tower in a while, so that's my excuse. Anyhow, this is Vince Mickens with All Things Aviation and Aerospace with a special edition live from United Airlines at O'Hare International Airport. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will